Welcome, everyone. I'm Michelle Schumann, the Artistic Director of the Austin Chamber Music Center, and I'm so happy to have Phil Setzer here with me, the violinist of the Emerson String Quartet, the fantastic Emerson String Quartet, who we will miss so much in the future seasons, but we're so excited to have you this Saturday, August 12th. Thank you for joining us, Phil.
Great to be here. Nice to see you and talk with you.
Yeah. I'm guessing you've had like a ton of interviews, this being the last season, and everyone wants to know about what retirement is like and all that, but I'm not going to ask you any questions like that. So I
Well,
know
retirement's not really existing because we're all doing a lot of things anyway. So,
Of course, of
yeah.
course, of course. What I would love to hear about is this new piece by Sarah Kirkland Snyder,
Yeah.
and why you chose to include this in your final season and all that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Well, as I'm sure you know, we've been committed to doing a lot of new music over the 47 years of the Emerson Quartet and recorded quite a bit of it. And we're involved in a number of commissions and world premieres, and so that's been an exciting part of our career, and hopefully part of our legacy. Certainly, it's something that's very important for all artists, all performing artists, or artists in general, to keep making new art. And there's always this kind of, well, I don't really like modern music as much as I like old music, but the old music was modern music at one time, right?
Yes,
And
indeed.
we forget that a little bit, and just we have to make sure that people not just keep creating, but that they're encouraged to keep creating. And so Sarah Kirkland Snyder was at the Great Lakes Chamber Music Festival in Detroit. Paul Watkins is the artistic director there, and I run the Schaus Institute for young groups, young musicians. And we were all very impressed with her music. That was a few years ago. And just really liked her personally, and it came up, well, we want to commission one more work. We really want to do this. This is be our last commission. And Paul and I we were talking about it, and said, well, what about Sarah? And he said, that's a great idea. And so we reached out to her, and she was excited to do it. And we love the piece. It's a short, kind of compact work, but full of color and full of energy. I think that's the best way to just describe it, but beautiful energy. It's sort of like looking at some kind of crystal, well lighted ball of glass with lots of reflections coming off of it. And the more you look at it, the more beautiful it is. And there are very quiet moments, but also very moments where the light is really sort of jumping at you. So it was great. People have been very positive about it, hearing it.
That sounds so beautiful. It sounds like it might be able to capture a moment for audiences where they can just be present with the sound and be in that.
I think so. And the program, it starts with an early Mendelssohn quartet, which is really beautiful and not played that often. It ends softly. It ends beautifully. It ends the same way that the first movement ends, which is kind of a romantic idea, this kind of full circle, or hearing something again when you're a little bit older, even if it's only 20 minutes older. And then this late Shostakovich quartet, written during the Brezhnev years, and when he was under tremendous scrutiny, but also toward the end of his life, where he basically tossed caution to the wind a bit. And he opens this quartet with the cello playing the 12 tones of the 12-tone row, which was in itself illegal to do. So he starts this piece with something that earlier in his career probably would have landed him in the gulag or worse. And that 12-tone music comes back a lot. A lot of late Shostakovich has 12-tone music in it, but it's there more as protest than actual working out a 12-tone serial system like Schoenberg did.
Right. Mhm.
But and then we have intermission, then we come and we hear Sarah's piece, which is new and has, as I was talking about the colors and the kind of this light shining off of it, which I think sets up the Ravel beautifully. We
Mhm.
go back to a piece written just barely in the 20th century, 1901, of Ravel, an early piece of Ravel, but a masterpiece already.
Yeah,
So I
and
think it kind of think the things the three 20th century or three 20th and 21st century pieces work well on this program because they're very different from each other.
well, and it's an interesting journey, especially when you're programming a new work that you may not have known what it was going to be when you were doing the programming around it. Because and you've had a few
Yeah.
little iterations of the program too to see what kind of works, right?
Yeah, it's always a little bit of a risk to get something new, and we've done this before many times, and the piece never comes to you exactly the way you kind of imagined it would be, because
Mhm.
Sarah's music has changed quite a bit in those few years, as it should, and but I think it's a remarkable piece and very very enjoyable, and as I said, it'll work I think extremely well, sort of setting up the Ravel and then looking back at Ravel.
I think you've earned your right to take those risks too.
I hope so. Well, if you're not going to take risks, why do it, right?
Right. It's very true. And and yeah, we there's an element of artists are there to entertain, but there's also an element of like we're there to forge new paths for
Well,
audiences and for
yeah, and you
society,
don't, right. And I think the audiences appreciate that. I mean,
Sure.
we've played a lot of music that we knew some people in the audience maybe wouldn't like it. It's not necessarily a modern piece or a Bartok quartet or something. It could be even be something like the Beethoven Grosse Fuga. That's not exactly easy to listen to that. There's a lot of movements of Bartok that are a hell of a lot easier to listen
Right.
to than the Grosse Fuga of Beethoven. But it's also a tremendously exciting work, and
Right.
we want to share that with the audience. And we want to challenge the audience. I mean, that's part of what any performer should do, is to point out what's amazing about this music or this piece of art or um, this play of Shakespeare, but not necessarily make it easier to understand, but make it understandable enough so that you can appreciate how difficult it is to understand.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
well,
you know what I mean?
in life, not every journey is easy, but that doesn't mean it's
Right.
not worth taking. And over
Yeah.
again, we get the deepest rewards from
Yeah.
those
Well,
difficult journeys.
sometimes you have to work a little for the better things in life. And
Yeah.
that goes with coming in and sitting down as a member of an audience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of the better things in life, I was just thinking about this being the last season of the Emerson Quartet, and our audiences are like ecstatic. They are so excited to see you again. This is the third time that you guys have come back to our festival, so they're excited to see you again. But they're really excited to be part of this. Like this last, it doesn't feel like it's ending. It feels like it's a celebration of
Yeah, I think that's
Quartet.
what we're trying to focus on, is really celebrating this and enjoying it and not getting too sad. And audiences have been just amazing. They're so warm. Even we walk out on stage, we get
Standing
this.
ovation, right?
Yeah, it's like it can only go downhill from here, right? But also, I've had a lot of people come up to me, not just me, the other guys too, and saying that, especially at the beginning of this season, they were saying, this is the first time we've gone out to a
Right.
live performance, or they've said, this we've been to some performances, but this is the first time where I came because I knew I wanted to see the quartet one more time in person, and I had really, they would say I had really forgotten what it was like to be at a live performance. And happily, I think as the year has gone on, see people more comfortable coming out. But again, saying, "Wow, this is just really different than sitting home watching Netflix," which we all did, and I still do. I love
Yeah.
it. It's like, during the pandemic, that's all we were doing. And you kind of forget, well, we don't really need to go and get in the car and, have to pay for this. And it's such a hassle, go into the city to see a play, and we can watch it on TV at home. And it's a lot easier and a lot cheaper, but there's nothing like being at an exciting performance. And it's not just also seeing the performance live, but also experiencing something with other people, being in a room, being in a big room or in a chamber size room, or just being with people. It's like we all lost our sense of being social and sociable. And that's part of that is experiencing something together, even for the people you don't know, just being in a space with people when something's happening.
Yeah, I think it was our way of coping to almost being like optimistic and hopeful by saying, hey, actually, maybe it's not so bad being at home. I'm super comfortable watching this concert on my TV and I don't have to have the bother of that. So it's almost like we were trying to convince ourselves that this was a good thing. And I
Yeah,
think in that convincing, you're right. I think people forgot. And then like it's the things in the concert, like as an audience member, like it's the little gasps that people like, you hear people like if there's a beautiful phrase or something funny in the music and you hear someone just chuckle out loud, like I mean, it actually gives me kind of goosebumps
yeah,
thinking about
yeah,
it. And then when there's that collective feeling, like it's magical. I mean,
yeah. It
truly.
is magical. And when the cell phones don't go off, it's really
Ah.
it's, we started Beethoven Opus 59 number 2, which has these two big chords, and then there's silence, and then there's dee da da dee da 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 da, silence. Cell phone goes off right in the beginning, and it was so funny that we just kind of started just stopped, because it was so ridiculous. It couldn't
Right.
really. It's such serious, profound, you know, you know, like dramatic moment, and then it's like, you know.
I'm telling you, that would have pissed Beethoven off, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Luckily he wouldn't have been able to hear it, I guess you could say,
Right.
but
Okay.
but not to make a joke about his deafness, but
Yeah.
that's probably one thing he didn't have to deal with, was a lot of noise in the hall.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he would not have. He was not thinking of anything even close to a cell phone going off in those
Well,
silences. That's for
and
sure.
and no distractions in that way too, which is
Yeah,
really
exactly.
beautiful. Yeah. Well, we just can't wait, and I'm so pleased that we were able to have you guys. I know you've been awfully busy, very very busy, so
Yeah,
it's been really
running
a thrill for
around.
us. Yeah.
I just spent the last 3 days doing baby duty. We have a new granddaughter, the
Nice.
first grandchild of the Emerson Quartet.
Ah,
So
wow.
we're just down with little Ava Berry is her
Nice.
name. So
Nice.
uh, so it's a little different than walking out on stage and playing with the quartet, but even more rewarding and something to look
Right.
forward to.
And its
Yeah.
own kind of magic and its own need for presence and staying in the moment, right?
Yeah, I played a little Bach for her. It's the first time I
Oh,
actually played something, and she's only 6 weeks old. So, I mean, she's not like, her eyes aren't even totally working yet,
right.
but her eyes stayed
Oh.
totally focused on me as I was playing, and she gave me a good review at the end. She didn't like start screaming or anything. So, yeah.
That's great. And it's nice. It'll be nice to have, oh, I'm sure you guys will be still super busy, but it'll be nice to maybe have a little bit of space to enjoy that part of life too.
Yeah, 47 years, and the travel is just getting so horrendous now. I mean, everybody says it and everybody knows it, but
Yeah.
I used to love traveling, and I mean, what's the point of traveling if you can't get room service? A lot of hotels don't even have room
Right.
service anymore.
True.
What's the whole point of being in a quartet or having a career where you travel, is so you can do room service?
Right.
I mean,
Right there.
really?
Yeah. Come on.
I mean, really? Anyway.
Well, I hope you have room service when you get here. I think you
Well,
do. Yeah.
I'm not expecting it, but I'll be pleasantly surprised. But we're looking forward, room service or not, we're very much looking forward to coming back
Well,
and seeing
can't
our
wait.
friends one
Can't
more
wait.
time.
Thank
Great.
you so much
Okay.
for chatting, and we'll see you in a couple days.
See you soon. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.